I don't know you, but I know this. You have 1,000 ideas, probably a restless mind, and this nagging feeling that you're not doing enough. You dream big and you see possibilities where others see obstacles. But when it comes time to act, something holds you back. You get stuck in this endless loop of thinking, replaying past mistakes and over-preparing for future failures. It's like being trapped in your own head, watching your potential slip through your fingers. That's the paradox of the modern high achiever. We have more access to knowledge, tools, and inspiration than any generation before us. We can Google any skill, binge the life stories of the world's greatest minds, and connect with mentors across the globe. And yet we hesitate, we doubt, we spin our wheels. Why? Because the problem isn't a lack of motivation or talent, it's overthinking. It's the habit of making every decision into a mental maze. You're analyzing every potential risk and second-guessing every step. It's exhausting and it can be paralyzing. But here's the upside. If you can learn to break this habit, you can unlock a level of clarity and confidence that will help you achieve your goals. The trap of the thinking mind. You're not lazy, you're not lacking discipline. What you're trapped in is a mental maze of your own making. Overthinking is the killer of progress in your life. It's like this overactive security system, scanning for threats 24/7, keeping you paralyzed even when you're perfectly safe. I once heard about this artist who spent years sketching ideas for his graphic novel. He had stacks of rough drafts, notes, and character ideas, but he didn't publish anything. Why? Because every time he sat down to work, his mind was clouded with thoughts. What if it isn't good enough? What if no one cares? What if I fail publicly? In the end, he convinced himself that he was just too busy or too tired to work on his passion. But the truth was simpler. He was afraid. Afraid of not living up to his own expectations. Afraid of starting and realizing he wasn't as good as he hoped. This wasn't laziness. This was overthinking, dressed up as self-preservation. The myths of laziness and unproductivity. Let's clear something up. You're not lazy. Laziness is just a label we slap on anyone who isn't ultra-productive with every second of their day, but it's rarely accurate. Most of the time when you think an action is about being lazy, usually when dive deeper, it's actually a fear of the unknown, the judgment, the potential failure, or even the fear of success. Myth number 1, you're lazy because you can't focus. Nope. You're not lazy, you're mentally cluttered. Your mind is juggling too many potential futures and past regrets, which sadly leaves you paralyzed in the present moment. Overthinking is like having too many tabs open on your browser, and each one is slowing down the overall system. It's not that you don't care, it's that you care too much about every single possible outcome. You worry about choosing the wrong path, missing out on a better opportunity, or being judged for the result. This creates a kind of mental cage where every option feels uncertain, which causes you to freeze up. Maybe this is just me, but have you ever opened your laptop to start a project? Then you spend the next 30 minutes fixing your workspace, checking emails, and scrolling through Instagram? That feeling right there isn't laziness. That's your mind trying to avoid the discomfort of confronting the unknown. It's the mental equivalent of spinning your wheels in mud. A lot of energy, but no real movement. You're not lazy, you're just scattered, pulled in 1,000 directions by your own thoughts. Myth number 2, you're unproductive because you don't care enough. False, you care too much. You're so focused on the perfect outcome that you're unwilling to risk a messy, imperfect first draft. You're overthinking every possible outcome, turning a simple task into a mental battlefield. You're so caught up in what your work should look like that you never let it see the light of day. It's not that you lack motivation, you just have a deep-seated fear of falling short. This fear can be crippling. It's the same reason many writers stare at blank pages for hours, why artists struggle to pick up a brush, and why entrepreneurs hesitate to launch their next big idea. It's not a lack of care, but this constant thought of what if this happens? What if that happens? This nagging worry that their work won't be good enough, that it won't measure up to this perfect version in their minds. When you tell yourself you're unproductive, you're often just reacting to this internal pressure. You're not unproductive because you don't care. You're unproductive because you care so much that you've tangled yourself up in expectations. The truth is, the fear of producing something less than perfect can be more paralyzing than the actual work itself. The key is learning to push through that fog of overthinking and just start. Because once you do, the momentum will carry you further than any amount of worrying ever could. How to break the thought loop. Okay, so how do you break free? How do you turn that swirling storm of ideas into real-world action? 1. Shrink the task. One of the biggest reasons overthinkers tend to get stuck is because the task feels overwhelming. It's like standing at the bottom of a mountain, staring up at a peak hidden in the clouds. You can't see the top, let alone figure out the correct path to get there. That uncertainty creates a mental paralysis. Your brain gets flooded with all the steps, all the possible ways you could fail, and it just hits the brakes. But the truth is, the only way to climb that mountain is to take one small step at a time. Instead of planning to write a book, start with writing a single paragraph. Instead of having a goal of getting in shape, start with a 5-minute walk. Instead of thinking I have to build a successful business, start with a rough idea of what the business might look like. You can't eat an elephant in one bite, but you can take one small piece out of it day by day. And once you start, the next step will seem less intimidating. This approach is backed by science. The Zeigarnik effect, a psychological phenomenon that states our brains are wired to remember incomplete tasks more than completed ones. This means that once you start, your mind naturally wants to keep going until you finish. It's like pushing a small snowball down a hill. Each little step builds momentum, and before you know it, you have a sizable empire. 2. Set a timer. If you struggle to even start the first small step, this one's for you. The Pomodoro technique is a classic trick that I see misunderstood by most people. It's not just about working in short bursts, it's about breaking the cycle of overthinking and diving straight into focused action. Here's the key. You're not promising to finish a giant project. You're just committing to 25 minutes of uninterrupted effort. That's it. There's something about a ticking clock that forces your brain into focus mode. It adds a touch of urgency, cutting through the mental fog. And when you know the clock is running, your brain has less space to overthink about doubts, fears, and hypotheticals. It's like tricking your mind to focus because you know you have limited time. And when the timer rings, reward yourself with a 5-minute break. This is crucial. It's not just a reward, it's a psychological reset. It prevents burnout, gives your subconscious time to process what you've just worked on, and sets you up for another focused burst if you're ready to keep going. Do this 4 times, and you've worked for nearly 2 hours with total focus. That's more than most people achieve in an entire distracted, ping-filled workday. 3. Embrace imperfection. This one is hard for the overthinker. You want things to be perfect, polished, and impressive right out of the gate. But here's the hard truth. Nothing worth doing ever starts perfect. In fact, the path to mastery is paved with mistakes, missteps, and messy first drafts. You can't think your way into perfection. You have to act your way into it. Take writers, for example. They don't sit down and craft a bestseller in a single sitting. They spill messy, chaotic first drafts onto the page. They overwrite, they miss the mark, they wander off track. But they keep going because of this mindset shift. You can always edit a bad draft, but you can't edit a blank page. This idea of embracing imperfection is also deeply connected to the idea of failing forward. It means that each mistake is a stepping stone, a valuable piece of the puzzle. You learn by doing, by falling, by getting it wrong, and then adjusting. If you wait for the perfect moment or the perfect conditions, you'll be waiting forever. You'll sit on your ideas, on your potential, and watch others take the risks you were too scared to take. And that's a form of slow, painful regret. 4. Visualize the finish line. This one is often misunderstood. It's not about living in a fantasy where you've already won. It's about using the power of visualization to cut through the fog of overthinking. When you picture the finish line, you give your brain a target, a clear destination. It turns a vague, intimidating task into a concrete goal. Elite athletes do this all the time. They visualize themselves crossing the finish line, lifting the trophy, or landing the perfect move. They don't just see it, though, they feel it. They imagine the sweat on their skin, the roar of the crowd, the weight of the medal. This kind of deep, immersive visualization creates a powerful pull toward the goal. It gives the brain a taste of success, and once it gets that taste, it craves more. The same principle applies to everyday life. If you're trying to launch a business, don't just think about the grind and the stress. Imagine the moment you hit your first breakthrough. Imagine your first customer, your first sale, or the first time someone thanks you for making their life better. It feels amazing, doesn't it? Use this mental image as fuel. When the self-doubt creeps in, when the voice in your head starts whispering that you're wasting your time, come back to this image. Use it as a shield, a source of strength. The bottom line. None of these steps are magic bullets. They won't erase all your doubts, and they won't guarantee instant success. But they will get you moving, and that's the hardest part. Remember, action is the antidote to overthinking. You don't have to conquer the whole mountain today. You just have to take the next step. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop letting your mind bully you into paralysis. Start small, set a timer, embrace the mess, and keep your eyes on the prize. And as you take each step, remind yourself of this mantra. I act in spite of my doubts. I move forward in spite of my fears. I am stronger than the noise in my mind. Conclusion, your new mantra. So here's the real takeaway. You're not lazy, you're not unmotivated, you're an overthinker. And that's a powerful thing. It means you're thoughtful, creative, and capable of seeing things from multiple angles. These are the same traits of the top visionaries, problem solvers, and inventors. But here's the catch. Those same traits, if left unchecked, these same traits can ruin you from achieving your dreams. Overthinking is like a powerful engine without a steering wheel. It can either drive you toward your goals or spin you in circles. The difference is action. Small, imperfect, real-world actions. That's why your new mantra is this. Small actions defeat big fears. When you feel yourself slipping into analysis paralysis, come back to this. Remind yourself that motion, not perfection, is the real measure of progress. It's better to take a clumsy step in the right direction than to stand frozen in the perfect, yet imaginary, version of your future. So, stop thinking and start doing. Don't just plan your life. Live it. Take the small steps, build the momentum. Let each action be a signal to your mind that you're moving, learning, growing. You've got this.